So today we are going to break up with busy. If you haven't already, there's something about this season where it's supposed to be a season for contemplation, kindling inner light, but it can be a time of accelerating busy. So it's a well-timed message for us, I think, breaking up with busy. It's the final message in the series that I called It's About Time, reclaiming sanity, serenity, and spirit in a fast-moving world. So this series has really been my opportunity that I gave myself to think about time, because it feels like time is speeding up, that there's less of it in a day, along with more to do and more pressure to accomplish more. And as I've talked with others about this, I discovered, I'm not alone with that feeling. I only see one nodding head out there. Come on. There is a shared experience of time accelerating, sense of overwhelm, too much to do, and importantly, not enough time for what truly matters to us. Now, here's the thing. It seems like we could have more time if we learn to be more efficient. There's a whole section in every bookstore about that. More disciplined, more focused, or committed. And so we look for ways to find or have more time, and it's an old story. There's a fable about it that I like. It's a fable about the animals. One day, the animals call a meeting to figure out how to deal with humans. And one by one, they come forward with their complaints about us, that humans steal from them. So the first one to speak is Cow, and she says, they steal my milk. She's followed by Sheep, who says, they take my milk and my wool. Snake says, they take my skin. Elephant says, they take my tusks. Goose says, they take our feathers. On it went, until old Tortoise slowly steps into the center of the circle. And he says, humans most want what I have, and they can't get it. The other animals asked, what is that? And Tortoise said, they want time. They want more time. So how do we get more time? Here is the most powerful answer I know to the question. We don't. This is important. Because that very question, how can I get more time, is a question that sets us up for frustration and burnout. And it's really not the best question that we can ask. I think the best question we can ask is, what will I do with the time that I have? Author Oliver Burkeman, in his book, 4,000 Weeks, that's thought-provoking, just how it is. 4,000 weeks is the average number of weeks in the average lifespan. So people get out their phones and go, okay, where am I? I mentioned this book to my eye doctor the other day when I was having an exam. And I just gave the title of the book and explained, and he said, oh. I said, stop calculating, get back to examining my eyes. 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals. He wrote, this strange moment in history when time feels so unmoored might in fact provide the ideal opportunity to reconsider our relationship with it. Productivity is a trap. Becoming more efficient just makes you more rushed, and trying to clear the decks simply makes them all fill up faster. The day Listen carefully. The day will never arrive when you have finally everything under control. When the flood of emails has been contained, when your to-do lists have stopped getting longer, when you're meeting all your obligations at work and in your home life, and when the finally optimized person you've become can turn at long last to the things life is really supposed to be about. Let's start, he suggests, let's start by admitting defeat. None of this is ever going to happen. But you know what? He says, that's excellent news. Then he skillfully addresses the challenges we have with time are not in small part, that comes from the social conditions we're dealing with. He writes, none of us can single-handedly overthrow a society dedicated to limitless productivity, distraction, and speed. But right here, right now, you could stop buying into the delusion that any of that is ever going to bring satisfaction. So, to get off the treadmill, we have to recognize that we're on it. To break up with being busy, we have to deeply understand the futility of it. And the first helpful observation is truly acknowledging that time, our number of days here on earth in this incarnation, is limited. Okay, an honest look at time can free us from seeing time as a series of tasks to be done that once accomplished will then allow us to do what is most important. It helps us begin to turn around with regard to our priorities. We get out of the delusion that somehow we're going to do all this and then there will be this time. No, there's just the time. Remember Mary Oliver's poignant poem, The Summer Day, where she invites us all to stop and look and ask. So I'm going to read part of that poem for us. This is the last half of it, with apologies to Mary that I'm only reading half of the poem. I don't know exactly what a prayer is, she writes. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Then she asked, tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? So I know, there's a part of us that says, yeah, there's a poem. That's fine for a famous poet. She has time to lie in the grass all day. But let's be realistic. And we're stunned by that beautiful last line, the question, what do you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? But I think it's the earlier question really that has set us up. The question being, what else would you have me do? What else in your life would you do? What else can we do? And the focus of this poem The litany is pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention to what is life-giving and what is soul-nourishing. Do whatever we do in that way. Pay attention. Work in that way. Serve in that way. Relax in that way. Pay attention. Because when we do, we can notice how life supports us. Capital L, life, supports us when we're open to it, when we believe it will, when we invite it, when we make space for that in our awareness. We can't do that when we're busy. We're on the treadmill. Pay attention. Stay curious about life, about the soul, about the mind, and our place in the universe. Notice how life is responsive to your thoughts and your beliefs. Notice the connection between your mind and your experience. Notice how mysterious and healing appearances of grace continuously invite you to pay attention and be present to the embrace of divine love. Notice that. Notice it. Pay attention. Notice how we're continually being nudged to pay attention and to live fully now. God has already given us everything. The kingdom is here. In our tradition, Mahavatar Babaji is quoted as saying, "Few mortals know or understand that the kingdom of God extends fully to the earth plane." Pay attention. I want to close with a story about, well, how an elephant showed up in my neighborhood yesterday. But first, a teaching from my guru, Roy Eugene Davis, from his book, Absolute Knowledge. Behind the outer appearances of the physical realm are invisible forces that regulate the processes of life. Learn to be aware of them. See, when we're caught up and busy, we're just living on the surface of life, and we are not connected to our depths and to that invisible force. Behind the outer appearances of the physical realm are invisible forces that regulate the processes of life. Learn to be aware of them. Invite them to be supportive of you, and they will be supportive in accord with your receptivity to your highest good. Know and feel that you are fulfilled. And I added, now, not later, when things are done. Know and feel that you are fulfilled. Thoughts and feelings of unworthiness tend to attract corresponding events. As an immortal spiritual being, choose to be spiritually conscious, happy, healthy, and successful in all your meaningful endeavors. So, when thoughts and feelings of being too busy occupy our mind and our heart, what happens? We attract more of the same. The treadmill goes faster and faster. No matter where we are or what we're doing, we are never too busy to pray. Never too busy to think about God. Never too busy to simply pay attention. And whenever we do, that's our moment. That's our moment of breaking up with busy. So, the elephant. Yesterday morning, I read a story about a wildlife conservation project that brought 100 elephants to reside on the streets of New York for 6 weeks. Now, These elephants are life-size sculptures modeled from actual living herds in the Nilgiri Hills in South India. And they are made by indigenous people from the area out of the Lantana Camara shrub. So these are life-size models of actual elephants that live in the Nilgiri area of India. And they're made of this shrub, the Lantana Camara shrub, which is the second most invasive species in the world, and which has taken over 40% of the forests in India and is toxic to both humans and elephants. Invasive and toxic and taking over. Like busy takes over our lives. But inspiration turned this weed into sculptural masterpieces that are generating positivity, hope, and funds for conservation. People are interacting with these sculptures in the meatpacking district of New York. And these elephants are going to travel all across the US. In California, they'll be in LA. So after I read the article, I took our dog Namisha out for her morning walk. And I was so moved by this way of turning something toxic into something beautiful and useful. So I was still thinking about the article, the elephants, the conservation work, and how amazing it would be to get to see those sculptures. Then when I came to the end of the block and prepared to cross the street, something happened. Namisha and I had to stop for an elephant to go by. This is a true story. I know it's a stretch, but stay with me. So it wasn't a living elephant walking down a street in Santa Cruz, but a life-size sculpture of one. And this one, oddly enough, was a tandem bike with Santa Cruz. It was Santa Cruz. I don't do drugs, honest. It was a tandem bike with two people, two riders encased inside. With the frame of the bike was the outline of a life-sized elephant. So, and there was nothing else going down the street except this tandem bike that was an elephant. I can't explain it. I mean, I could say it might have been on its way to the holiday parade downtown. Possible. But still. I can't explain the beauty and the mystery of this life. But I can pay attention. We can all pay attention. It only takes a moment and the willingness to notice the way grace pervades our life. So if you hear yourself say, I am too busy, take a moment and ask, what else would you have me do?